In the shadow of towering mountains and dense, untamed forests, amid the wild, unpredictable currents of the Tiber River, a legend was born. A tale of betrayal, survival, and destiny. Abandoned to the wild, cradled by the she-wolf beneath the hollowed fig tree of the Lupercal, and destined to rise from the shadows. These brothers would ignite a legend that would echo through the ages. But who were they really? Were Romulus and Remus divine descendants, sons of Mars, the god of war, or pawns in a brutal game of power played by mortal kings and jealous deities? What could drive one brother to betray the other, to spill blood upon the very soil they were destined to rule? And could the savage wilderness of Latium truly nurture the founders of an empire that would come to dominate the known world? In today's journey through the layers of time, we'll uncover the thrilling origins of Rome, blending history, mythology, and archaeology to unravel the mystery of Romulus and Remus. Long before Rome's rise, the region of Latium was home to the Latin tribes, with Alba Longa at its heart, a city said to be founded by Ascanius, the son of Aeneas, the Trojan hero who fled the burning ruins of Troy to forge a new destiny in Italy. This ancient lineage connected Rome not only to mythic heroes, but to the very fabric of Mediterranean history. Archaeological discoveries on the Palatine Hill, where legend says the twins were found, reveal settlements dating back to the 10th century BCE. Evidence of post holes from primitive huts, ancient hearths, and burial sites suggests that Rome's mythical past is deeply intertwined with historical reality. From divine ascendancy to deadly rivalry, this is the story that shaped an empire. So, was it fate or was it fiction? Let's find out. Long before the city of Rome emerged from the banks of the Tiber, the region of Latium was a mosaic of ancient tribes and burgeoning settlements. At the heart of this landscape stood Alba Longa, a city perched on the ridge of the Alban Hills. According to Roman tradition, Alba Longa was founded by Ascanius, the son of Aeneas, the Trojan hero who fled the burning ruins of Troy after its fall. Aeneas's journey, immortalized in Virgil's Aeneid, connected the fledgling Roman people to the ancient, heroic lineage of Troy, a link that would become central to Rome's sense of destiny and identity. Alba Longa served as the cradle of the Latin League, a coalition of early Latin tribes. It was a thriving city-state, wielding significant political and religious influence over its neighbors. But beneath the surface of this burgeoning power lay a web of betrayal and familial conflict that would set the stage for Rome's founding. At the center of this drama were two brothers, Numitor and Amulius. Numitor, the rightful king of Alba Longa, ruled with fairness and wisdom, but his reign was cut short by the treachery of his younger brother. Amulius, driven by insatiable ambition, seized the throne through a brutal coup. Not content with mere power, Amulius sought to eliminate any threat to his rule. To secure his grip on Alba Longa, Amulius devised a ruthless plan. He murdered Numitor's male heirs, ensuring that no legitimate claim to the throne could arise. However, there remained one obstacle: Rhea Silvia, Numitor's only daughter. Rather than killing her, Amulius forced her into the sacred order of the Vestal Virgins, priestesses sworn to 30 years of celibacy in service of the goddess Vesta. By doing so, Amulius sought to extinguish Numitor's bloodline without shedding her blood, ensuring no descendants could rise against him. But fate, as it often does in legend, intervened. One day, while tending to the sacred hearth, or perhaps gathering water near the sacred grove of Mars, Rhea Silvia encountered the god of war himself. Here the myth diverges. Some say Mars seduced Rhea Silvia, Others claim he took her by force. Regardless of the version, the outcome was the same. Rhea Silvia became pregnant with twin sons. In Roman tradition, this divine paternity was not just a tale of the gods meddling in human affairs. It was a political statement, legitimizing the future rulers of Rome as descendants of both mortal kings and immortal deities. When news of Rhea Silvia's pregnancy reached Amulius, he was enraged. The birth of her sons, Romulus and Remus, represented a direct threat to his power. Consumed by fear of the prophecy that foretold his downfall at the hands of his brother's descendants, Amulius ordered the twins to be executed. But fate intervened once more. Rather than kill the infants outright, Amulius commanded his servants to cast them into the Tiber River, trusting the swollen, spring-fed waters to drown them. However, the river had other plans. The Tiber, swollen with rain and silt, overflowed its banks, stranding the basket carrying the twins into the muddy shallows near the Palatine Hill. It was here, beneath the shelter of a wild fig tree, in a cave known as the Lupercal, that the most enduring symbol of Rome's origins emerged. A she-wolf, a lupa, discovered the crying infants, and in an act that would etch itself into Roman identity, nursed them with her own milk. This image, the wolf suckling the twins, became the very symbol of Rome's feral strength and resilience. But as with much of Roman mythology, the story has layers. The shepherd Faustulus discovered the boys beneath the fig tree and brought them home to his wife, Acca Laurentia. Together they raised Romulus and Remus as their own, unaware of their royal lineage, but mindful of the strange destiny that seemed to follow them. The twins thrived in the rugged hills, their upbringing marked by the hardships and lessons of rural life. It was here, amidst the wild landscape and simple pastoral existence, that the foundations of their character and Rome's future were laid. The story of their miraculous birth and survival was just the beginning. The twins would grow to challenge the forces that sought to destroy them, setting in motion a chain of events that would lead to the founding of a city and a murder that would echo through history. By the way, welcome back to History and Mythology with Krista. If you're enjoying the intrigue so far, don't forget to boop that like button. It helps the channel grow and keep these epic stories coming. Romulus and Remus thrived in the rugged hills of Latium, their youth shaped by the trials of shepherd life and the raw, unforgiving landscape that surrounded them. Raised among flocks and fields, the brothers quickly distinguished themselves from the other local youths. They were taller, stronger, and more fearless, displaying an unshakable bond and a natural inclination towards leadership. Their days were filled with labor of tending to sheep and goats, but their hearts burned with a sense of purpose they couldn't yet understand. They organized games and contests among other shepherd boys, often leading mock battles that showcased their growing prowess. But their strength wasn't just for play. The hills around the Palatine were rife with danger. Wild animals prowled the forests, and bands of robbers often targeted the vulnerable herders. Romulus and Remus became protectors of their community, leading daring raids against these bandits and redistributing the stolen goods to the local shepherds. Their exploits earned them fame and admiration among the rural folk, who began to see them not just as brave youths, but as champions for justice. Yet even as their reputation grew, so too did the whispers of their mysterious origins. It wasn't long before fate began to unveil their true heritage. During a skirmish over disputed pasture lands, Remus was captured by the men of King Amulius. His captors, unaware of his true identity, but recognizing his leadership among the shepherds, accused him of banditry and rebellion. He was dragged in chains back to Alba Longa, where he stood trial before the very king who had once ordered his death. Meanwhile, Faustulus, the shepherd who had raised the twins, could no longer keep their secret. He revealed to Romulus the truth of their birth, their divine lineage, their royal bloodline, and the prophecy that foretold their rise. This revelation ignited fire within Romulus, who vowed to rescue his brother and reclaim their rightful place in Alba Longa. Romulus gathered a band of loyal shepherds and allies, many of whom had fought alongside the twins in their battles against bandits. Armed with nothing more than courage, cunning, and a deep sense of destiny, they infiltrated the city under the cover of darkness. Inside the city, the truth of Remus's identity had begun to spread. Numitor, the deposed king and their grandfather, recognized his grandson and quietly plotted with sympathetic factions within the city. When Romulus arrived, the twin brothers reunited in a dramatic uprising. Together with the support of Alba Longa's discontented citizens and Numitor's loyalists, they stormed the palace. Amulius met a brutal end. In some versions of the legend, Romulus personally struck down Amulius, his sword piercing the heart of the man who had condemned them as infants. Other accounts suggest that the enraged citizens of Alba Longa dragged Amulius from his throne and stoned him to death in the public square, a fitting punishment for his tyranny. With Amulius dead, Numitor was restored to his rightful throne. The people of Alba Longa rejoiced, not just for the return of their true king, but for the miraculous story of the twin brothers who had defied death and destiny. But Romulus and Remus were not content to remain in Alba Longa. Their hearts belonged to the wild hills where they had been nurtured, to the land where their story had begun. They set their sights on founding a new city, a city that would rise from the banks of the Tiber and carve its name into history. Their journey was far from over. Ahead lay ambition, rivalry, and the ultimate test of brotherhood. With Alba Longa free and their grandfather, Numitor, restored to the throne, Romulus and Remus turned their gaze to the rugged landscapes of the Palatine and Aventine hills. The place where they had been saved from the Tiber's wrath called to them, promising a fresh beginning and the chance to forge a new city, a city born from their trials and destined for greatness. But the bond between the brothers, once unbreakable, began to fray under the weight of ambition and pride. Choosing the site for their city became the first point of contention. Romulus, ever pragmatic and assertive, favored the Palatine Hill for its central location and defensible terrain. It was the hill closest to their miraculous rescue and held deep symbolic significance for him. Remus, however, was drawn to the Aventine Hill, believing it offered better vantage points and greater potential for expansion. The disagreement, seemingly minor at first, soon spiraled into a bitter rivalry. To resolve their dispute, the brothers turned to the ancient practice of augury, interpreting the will of the gods through the behavior of birds. Standing atop their respective hills, they awaited the divine sign that would settle the matter once and for all. Remus was the first to witness an omen: 6 vultures soaring through the sky above the Aventine. He took this as a clear sign of the gods' favor and rushed to claim victory. But as he descended, Romulus saw 12 vultures circling the Palatine, a sign he interpreted as a superior blessing. The conflicting omens only deepened the rift between them. Remus argued that seeing the birds first proved his claim, while Romulus insisted that the greater number indicated divine preference. The dispute escalated beyond mere words, sowing seeds of resentment that would soon bear tragic fruit. Undeterred by his brother's protests, Romulus began constructing the city on the Palatine Hill. He laid out the Pomerium, the sacred boundary of his new city, and declared it inviolable. Anyone who crossed it without permission would face death. The act was both a practical measure of security and a symbolic assertion of his authority, But Remus refused to acknowledge his brother's claim. In a moment of defiance, or perhaps mockery, he leapt over the low walls of Romulus's fledgling city, taunting his brother and belittling the city's defenses. The exact words he spoke are lost to history, but his actions carried a clear message. He did not recognize Romulus's authority. What happened next would etch itself into the very soul of Rome. In a blinding flash of rage, Romulus seized a spade from the ground and struck Remus down. The blow was swift and final. As Remus collapsed, the blood of the first Roman was spilled, not by an enemy, but by his own brother. Standing over his fallen twin, Romulus uttered words that would echo through the ages. "So perish anyone who dares to cross these walls." The fratricide, a dark and violent act, became the foundation upon which Rome was built. The city was born from blood and betrayal, a testament to ambition and sacrifice. But this brutal beginning also reflected the values that would define Rome: strength, resilience, and an unyielding will to power. Romulus mourned his brother, but his vision for the city remained unshaken. He named the city Roma in his honor, or perhaps as a grim reminder of the cost of greatness. The walls grew higher, the city expanded, and Romulus assumed his place as its first king, forever marked by the blood of his twin. Thus, Rome rose from the soil, not just as a city, but as a symbol of humanity's darkest impulses and brightest ambitions. It was a city destined to conquer the world, forged in the fires of fraternal conflict. With Remus gone and the city's walls secured, Romulus stepped into his role as the first king of Rome. On April 21st, 753 BCE, Romulus officially founded Rome. But the city he founded was more than a collection of huts and walls. It was an idea, a symbol of power, resilience, and unity. Yet the early days of Rome were fraught with challenges. The city needed people, laws, and order, and Romulus wasted no time in addressing these needs. To populate his fledgling city, Romulus opened Rome's gates to fugitives, exiles, and freed slaves. The asylum, as it came to be known, was a refuge for society's outcasts. Men of all backgrounds and tribes poured into the city, seeking a new life under Romulus's rule. But with this influx of men came a critical problem: the lack of women. Romulus knew that without women, Rome could not grow. So he devised a plan that would secure both wives for his people and strengthen the city's ties to neighboring tribes. This plan led to one of the most infamous events in Roman mythology: the rape of the Sabine women. Romulus invited the neighboring Sabines and other tribes to a grand festival celebrating Neptune Equester, the god of horses. The festival, known as the Consuela, was filled with games, feasting, and religious rites. The unsuspecting Sabines arrived with their families, eager to enjoy the festivities. But at a prearranged signal, the Roman men seized the Sabine women, dragging them away from their families. The abduction caused chaos and outrage. Fathers and brothers fought to protect their daughters and sisters, but they were overpowered. The Sabine men returned home, vowing revenge. In the days that followed, Romulus sought to pacify the abducted women. He promised them respect, legal rights, and the role as the mothers of Rome's future. He spoke of destiny, of how their unions were part of a grander plan to build an eternal city. Over time, many of the women resigned to their fate, grew to accept their new lives, and some even formed bonds with their Roman husbands. The Sabines, however, were not so easily placated. They declared war on Rome, leading to a fierce battle at the Roman citadel, the Capitoline Hill. For a time, the Sabines held the upper hand, even breaching Rome's defenses with the help of Tarpeia, a Roman maiden who betrayed the city in exchange for what she believed would be a reward of gold. Instead, the Sabines crushed her beneath their shields, fulfilling her tragic misunderstanding of their promise. As the battle raged, the Sabine women, now wives and mothers, intervened. They threw themselves between their fathers and brothers on one side and their husbands on the other. Their pleas for peace, for unity, and for the future of their children resonated with both sides. Moved by their courage and wisdom, the Romans and Sabines agreed to a truce. Romulus shared kingship with the Sabine leader, Titus Tatius, symbolizing the unification of the two peoples. This co-leadership, though rare in ancient monarchies, laid the foundation for Rome's future political structure, emphasizing collaboration and the integration of diverse cultures into a singular Roman identity. Under their joint rule, Rome flourished. The city expanded its territories, established diplomatic ties with neighboring tribes, and developed the early institutions that would form the bedrock of Roman society. The Senate was formalized, composed of 100 elders known as patres, whose descendants would become the powerful patrician class. Laws were codified, religious rites were standardized, and Rome's military prowess began to take shape. However, peace between the co-rulers was not destined to last. After several years, Titus Tatius was assassinated during a diplomatic visit to Lavinium, a neighboring city. His death left Romulus as the sole ruler of Rome, allowing him to consolidate power and fully implement his vision for the city. As Rome's first king, Romulus continued to expand the city's influence through warfare and diplomacy. He established strong fortifications around the city, built temples to honor the gods, and organized Rome's military forces into centuries and cohorts, a structure that would later become the bedrock of the Roman legion. His reign marked the transition of Rome from a collection of huts to a formidable power in Latium. Yet, the end of Romulus's life is shrouded in as much mystery and myth as its beginning. According to legend, during a review of his troops at the Field of Mars, Romulus disappeared in a sudden, violent storm. Some accounts claim that he was taken up to the heavens by his father Mars and deified as Quirinius, a god of the Roman state. Others whisper that the senators, weary of his autocratic rule, murdered him and concealed the crime by fabricating the story of his ascension. Regardless of the truth, Romulus's legacy endured. His name became synonymous with the city he founded, and his story, a blend of divine favor, ruthless ambition, and tragic fratricide, echoed through the centuries as the embodiment of Rome's complex identity. The tale of Romulus and Remus is more than just an ancient legend. It's a narrative that shaped the identity of one of history's greatest civilizations. But how much of this story is rooted in fact, and how much is the product of myth and cultural memory? Archaeological evidence supports the idea that the Palatine Hill, the legendary site of Rome's founding, was indeed inhabited as early as the 10th century BCE. Excavations have revealed remnants of primitive huts, hearths, and fortifications that align with the timeline of Rome's traditional founding date, 753 BCE. These findings suggest that while the story of Romulus and Remus may be steeped in myth, it likely reflects real historical processes. The unification of disparate tribes, the establishment of social hierarchies, and the transition from village life to urban society. The themes embedded in the legend, fratricide, divine ancestry, and the struggle for power, mirror the broader dynamics of early Roman society. The fratricidal conflict between Romulus and Remus could symbolize the violent clashes between rival factions or tribes in Latium. The emphasis on divine intervention reflects the deeply religious nature of Roman culture, where the favor of the gods was seen as essential to political legitimacy. Moreover, the integration of Greek and Etruscan influences into the Roman origin myth highlights Rome's position at the crossroads of Mediterranean cultures. The story of twin founders echoes similar myths from other ancient civilizations, such as the Greek tales of Castor and Pollux, or the Dioscuri, suggesting that Rome's mythmakers drew from a shared pool of symbolic narratives to craft a story that would resonate with both locals and foreign powers. The rape of the Sabine women itself may represent a historical allegory for the incorporation of neighboring tribes into the Roman state. The blending of Sabine and Roman cultures, symbolized through marriage and shared kingship, reflects Rome's ability to assimilate different peoples, a characteristic that would become central to its expansionist success. Furthermore, the dual narratives surrounding Romulus's disappearance, whether divine ascension or political assassination, speak to the tension between monarchy and republicanism that would define Rome's future. This ambiguity mirrors Rome's own struggle with power, governance, and the balance between individual authority and collective rule. The legend of Romulus and Remus is not merely a story of two brothers. It's the story of Rome itself, a city born from conflict, shaped by ambition, and destined for greatness. From their miraculous birth and survival to the tragic fratricide that marked Rome's founding, the tale encapsulates the dual nature of the Roman spirit, fierce and unyielding, yet bound by a deep sense of destiny and purpose. Rome's origins, whether seen through the lens of history or myth, remind us of the enduring power of stories to shape civilizations. The city that rose from the blood-stained hills of Latium would go on to conquer vast territories, influence countless cultures, and leave an indelible mark on the world. In the end, whether Romulus and Remus were real or imagined, their story lives on in the heart of the Eternal City. It's a story of survival against all odds, of ambition that knew no bounds, and of a city that would rise to become the center of the ancient world. And as the Tiber River continues to flow through the heart of Rome, so too does the legend of its founders, eternal, unbroken, and forever intertwined with the destiny of the city they created. Even today, the image of the she-wolf nursing the twins remains one of the most powerful symbols of Rome. It adorns coins, statues, and emblems, a constant reminder of the city's mythic beginnings and its enduring legacy. The values embodied in the story, resilience, unity, and the willingness to fight for one's destiny, continue to inspire not just Romans, but people around the world. The legend of Romulus and Remus is more than a tale of ancient times. It's a testament to the power of narrative, the blending of history and myth, and the timeless human quest for identity and purpose. As long as Rome stands, so too will the story of its legendary founders, echoing through the corridors of time, a beacon of the eternal city's undying spirit. Do you believe myths like that of Romulus and Remus shape how we see history? Or do they hide the true story beneath layers of legend? Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. I hope you enjoyed today's journey through the legendary birth of Rome. And if you did, please take a moment to smash that like button and make sure to subscribe. And if you're craving more epic tales from the ancient world, you'll love the video I recently did on the full story of the Trojan War, where Aeneas's incredible journey begins. His escape from Troy is what set the stage for Rome's destiny. If you want to see how it all ties together, All you have to do is click on the video because it's coming up next.